and at the end of a year with him, she had begun to have serious doubts about the marriage. She was 6 months pregnant with Pip by then, and the baby brought them closer for a while. The life they shared was exactly what Bill wanted. A wife he loved, and an adorable baby in a cozy little Victorian house in a family neighborhood. Athena was like an exotic bird trapped in a cage in a foreign land. It had taken her less than a year after Pip was born to fall out of love with him completely, and she got pregnant with Alex by accident after they got drunk at a party when Pip was 15 months old. She spent most of the pregnancy commuting to London to see her old friends, and got increasingly depressed whenever she came back to Bill in San Francisco. His parents had never liked her, and were dismayed by what he'd gotten himself into, but he was still insisting that Athena would settle down and get used to married life. He had a long talk with her father, who suggested that Bill give up his career in medicine, move to England, and join him in the family shipping business if he wanted the marriage to work. Athena was never going to be a California girl. The only one who refused to see it was Bill. 3 weeks after Alex was born, Athena took the two girls to England and spent the summer in the south of France with her sisters and friends at her parents' summer home there. At the end of the summer, she called to tell Bill she wasn't coming back and wanted a divorce. He was devastated and tried to talk her out of it, but she was already seeing Rupert by then, and Bill didn't have a chance. She and Rupert had had a summer fling in the south of France. She and Rupert had grown up together. He was one of her own, and a British lord like her father. Rupert was as much a libertine and free spirit as she was, and her 3 years in California were over. She never came back. Bill lived in a house in Noe Valley until the divorce she filed was final, hoping she would change her mind. She didn't. Eventually, he sold the pretty little house and moved to a small apartment on the Embarcadero, with a view of the bay and the Bay Bridge, and a second bedroom for his girls when they would come to visit. The apartment was stark and barely furnished, and he was still living there 5 years later. He had never bothered to decorate it, except for the bare essentials from IKEA, including a pink bedroom set for the girls. The rest of the apartment looked as barren and empty as he felt. When his daughters visited him now in the summer, they traveled most of the time. He took them to Lake Tahoe, camping in Yosemite. They went on road trips. He took them to Disneyland and did all the things divorced fathers do, trying desperately to establish a bond with his children in too little time. They were as British as their mother and stepfather, and loved their little half-brothers. Bill tried to plant the seed of their going to college in the States one day, which Pip was mildly interested in, but it was still 9 years away. In the meantime, he had his month with them in the summer, an occasional weekend when he could fly to London to see them, and Christmas every other year. The rest of the time he had his work. He firmly believed that he didn't need more than that. There hadn't been an important woman in his life since Athena, and he was beginning to see now how unsuited they had been for each other. He told himself it no longer mattered, and insisted he wasn't bitter about the divorce. He hadn't been in love with her for several years. She had broken his heart when she left with their daughters. The loves of his life now were Pip and Alex. He readily admitted he was a workaholic, and saw no harm in that. The absence of a wife or girlfriend gave Bill more time to devote to his work, and to his children when he saw them. He didn't want anyone interfering with his relationship with them, and a new woman might. He saw very little of his brother and parents in New York. They were part of a world he had never liked, and had shunned since he'd entered medical school.